Prueba, prueba, prueba. 1, 2, 3.
¿Transmitiendo? Ok. Muy buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es el doctor Juan Manuel García Gómez. Yo soy profesor de la Facultad de Medicina y soy el jefe del Departamento de Otorrinolaringología de la Fundación Santa Fe de Bogotá. Como bien sabemos, esta magnífica alianza, hermandad de los últimos 20 años ya, ha creado algo muy importante. Y uno de los objetivos de la Fundación Santa Fe y de la universidad, como todos sabemos, es siempre tener pares académicos de las mejores universidades del mundo para, como yo le digo a mis estudiantes, y si ustedes creen que la Fundación Santa Fe y la Universidad de los Andes son los mejores, debemos viajar más. Lo hacemos bien, pero siempre hay una meta para superar. Entonces, esa es la idea de estas reuniones y de estos esfuerzos que hace la universidad, financiando nuestros cursos. La Fundación Santa Fe, nuestro departamento, financia con fondos propios los cursos. Tenemos invitados el doctor Sunil Puria. El doctor Sunil Puria, él es PhD, tiene una formación académica en ingeniería electrónica. Él ha trabajado en Stanford, pronuncié bien, más o menos. Stanford, él ha trabajado activamente en... ¿Estamos viendo? Juliana, ¿estás transmitiendo? Ok. Doctor Sunil Puria ha trabajado también en MIT y en todo su trabajo en equipo con departamentos de otorrinolaringología, tanto en Stanford como en el Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary, conforman grupos de investigación muy sólidos con las facultades de medicina. El doctor Puria es quien dirige las admisiones de los postdocs y los PhDs en el grupo MIT Harvard. Es el área de ciencias básicas. Entonces, gracias al doctor Ricardo Peña, Ricardo, que es del área de ciencias básicas de la facultad, estamos acá. También nos acompaña el doctor Eduardo Corrales. El doctor Eduardo es otólogo, neurotólogo del Brigham and Women's Hospital y él hace parte de los profesores de Harvard. Con él rotan los estudiantes de posgrado residentes y tiene propios grupos de investigación. Entonces, al final vamos a hacer algunas preguntas. También Melissa Castillo, gran colega otorrino, neurotóloga de Medellín. Ella trabajó activamente en los laboratorios de Harvard de la mano del doctor Sunil. Entonces, ¿cuál es la razón de estas reuniones? Esta reunión es estimular los equipos de trabajo de ciencias básicas en el país. Es como me lo decía Eduardo, es crear una cultura de ciencias básicas que cambie la ciencia. Cuando vemos las frases de nuestro fundador de la universidad, Mario Lacerna, él habla de la ciencia para cambiar y ser aplicable a nuestro país. Siempre hay algo que hacer. Entonces, nuestra universidad participa activamente en esos cambios. Vamos a hablar de Sunil, primero un honor que esté con nosotros. Sunil es el presidente de la American Research Association, Journal Association of Research in Otolaryngology. Entonces, él es el presidente electo de esa asociación. En los Estados Unidos hay 120 programas de otorrinolaringología. En Colombia, 8. Estamos creando nuestro programa propio de la Facultad de Medicina. Este camino lo hemos recorrido y para eso está Eduardo acá, para eso está Sunil, para asesorarnos y llegar a soñar que nuestro posgrado de otorrinolaringología de la Universidad de los Andes, en alianza con la Fundación, sea uno de los mejores, one of the best, en los siguientes 10 años. Entonces, Eduardo, Melissa, Sunil, un agradecimiento por eso. Entonces, este es un objetivo. Hay unas diferencias enormes. Entonces, Sunil, a este congreso de la Association of Research in Otolaryngology, reúne 3.000, 4.000, 5.000 personas del mundo entero, solamente dedicados, Ricardo, como tú lo haces. Tú conoces muy bien el ambiente americano, estuviste en Iowa, trabajando en Iowa, activamente en research. Son laboratorios que apoyan los departamentos. Entonces, tener a Sunil acá es un honor, a Eduardo, a Melissa también, porque ahí es donde está la ciencia. Está la ciencia que cambia lo que hacemos. ¿Para qué? Para el beneficio de nuestros pacientes. Y una de las grandes dificultades que tenemos en Colombia es la financiación. Para eso hacemos alianzas permanentes, buscamos financiaciones, pero queremos en nuestro proyecto de posgrado. Yo estoy listo cuando quiera. Yo aquí me pongo el micrófono y de hecho aquí ahora yo a lo político, y eso sin aguardiente, ¿no? No hablemos de política. Para cambiar la ciencia. Entonces, en el área de otorrinolaringología en América Latina, los líderes de investigación están en la Universidad de Sao Paulo. Argentina también. México, algo. Colombia, muy poco. En lo clínico quirúrgico, debemos decir con orgullo que estamos a un muy buen nivel, inmodesta. Pero en ciencias básicas no hemos nacido. Entonces, esa es la cultura que queremos crear con los estudiantes, con el grupo que está acá. Gracias por acompañarnos. Entonces, toma tiempo, pero esa semilla que se siembra con esos profesores que hemos traído en los últimos 10 años a la universidad es para que siga creciendo. Y ha crecido gracias a Ricardo, gracias al departamento de bioingeniería. Recuerdo pues a Verónica Eichel, que al parecer Ricardo, lamentablemente Verónica pues se quedó en Suiza. Pero siempre bienvenida. Nosotros tenemos un modelo animal, pez cebra. Aquí está Nicolás, uno de nuestros estudiantes. Entonces, esto empieza estudiante, pregrado, maestría, posgrado, PhD, postdoc, financiación. Y esto es una inercia que no se detiene. Sucedió en los Estados Unidos, es un equipo de trabajo. Entonces, esa es la idea, Ricardo, la visita de nuestros profesores internacionales. El presupuesto de MiniCiencias fue disminuido de 400.000 millones de pesos a 285.000 millones de pesos. ¿Eso es cuánto? Ustedes que son más de números. ¿Unos 100 millones de dólares? ¿$100 million? Entonces, cuando Sunil oye esa cifra y Eduardo dicen, caramba, pero pobrecitos. Pero es la pasión y la cultura por buscar algo nuevo. Eso movió a Albert Einstein, que era amigo del fundador de la universidad. Siempre hay algo por descubrir. Entonces, eso es lo que queremos crear y no hay mejor terreno fértil que la Universidad de los Andes y los grupos de investigación que tiene la universidad. Mi madre decía, mijito, del cielo nada cae. Tú mismo lo tienes que conseguir. Tú mismo lo tienes que liderar. Y así se consiguen las cosas, Eduardo. Entonces, un placer tenerlos acá y ahora podemos ir avanzando. Juliana, gracias por coordinar esta reunión. En los inicios de mi carrera médica, estuve en la Universidad de Illinois, en Chicago, por 2 años como Research Fellow y vi ese camino de la investigación y las ciencias básicas. Entonces es un complemento de todas las áreas. ¿Quiénes son de la Facultad de Medicina? Okay, muy bienvenidos. ¿De otras facultades? Okay. ¿De qué facultad eres tú? ¿De Austria? So we can speak in English too. Where are you visiting us from? Yes, in Innsbruck. And are you engineers? Are you gynecologists? And you too? Okay, so pleased to have you here. And so, in fact, Sunil research in Harvard he's an expert in middle ear physiology and an expert in inner ear physiology. So the collaboration between many labs in the world reached to the point of making a deaf child hear. An adult who loses his hearing bilaterally, we put a cochlear implant in and the child hears. So the technology comes from Australia, from the United States, and from Israel. Medel. So we're doing a course, 14 postgraduate training students, residents. We're drilling temporal bones, and we are inserting in the inner ear electrodes in the cochlea. So it's a permanent collaboration. So Sunil, él es ingeniero biomédico también, PhD, y el grupo de investigación de Harvard, que es el Eaton Peabody Laboratories. No voy a decir la cifra, pero la cifra en dólares de research que ellos atraen supera lejos el presupuesto de investigación de todo el país. The budget that they have is more than the whole budget of the country for research. So, ¿qué más digo? Sunil, Melissa. Sunil, he's the president de ARO. Anaheim, Melissa. Melissa, gran colaboradora de Medicina. ¿Cuánto tú?
Bueno, yo soy otorrinolaringóloga, me formé en Buenos Aires, Argentina. Soy de aquí de la Pontificia Bolivariana del pregrado y realicé 2 años de Research Fellow en el laboratorio de Aaron Schneider, que también hace parte del IPL. El IPL son todos los laboratorios más grandes del mundo en oído. En parte, digamos, también Sunil hace parte como de todos estos laboratorios, es prácticamente quien estaba muy pendiente de nosotros los Fellow, pero sobre todo era quien también dirigía procesos de mecánica coclear. Actualmente esos procesos de mecánica coclear vienen también de la mano con la Universidad del Sur de California. Entonces ahí también está el Caruso Lab, que es uno de los laboratorios que más se dedican a lo que es modelamiento y todo lo que es mecanotransducción. Y también entonces como líder también entonces científico ha permitido que nosotros, los fellow, el doctor también lo conoce de hace mucho rato y no solamente nos ha, digamos, como incentivado a que también continuemos con nuestros propios laboratorios, sino también a que tengamos conciencia de que los científicos no solamente podemos ser científicos y también attending, es decir, gente que estamos en la práctica clínica, sino que también podemos hacer la parte del emprendimiento, que eso aquí en Colombia creo que no lo tenemos con mucha conciencia. Entonces, eso es como la introducción de uno de mis mentores, a quien tengo el gusto de llamar mentor, y bueno, ya comenzamos entonces con la charla.
Perfecto. So, Sunil, thank you again for coming. I already introduced you. PhD, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, postdocs you select. So it's a pleasure and honor to have you here. We have medical students, we have residents, doctors from Austria, and it's going to be great. Thank you, Sunil, again for being here in Colombia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Oh, thank you. Well, I could do without the microphone. It's a small room, but I guess for the remote, yeah, we need it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so how many people are? Raise your hand. Are you from engineering? Okay, one at least. Okay. And how many people are from the medical school? Almost everyone. Okay. You join me up here. Help give the talk. Well, great. So I'll try to tailor my talk a little bit as I go. It is a engineering project that I'm going to talk about as an example of, we were talking about earlier how it's important to create design spaces where physicians and engineers can work together to build new ideas and new concepts. And so this is a great example, I think, of that. And it's, so what am I going to do? So my goal was to talk about innovation and translation research in medicine and surgery. And I'm going to do that through an example of this hearing aid that we worked on. Does everybody here know what a hearing aid is? Okay, everybody knows a hearing aid. Do you have a family member your grandma, abuela, who has a hearing aid? No? Somebody in your family? Okay. Is anybody having trouble hearing me talk? Dr. Garcia will help you if you are. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is this light-driven hearing aid. So hearing aids are acoustic devices. And this is an innovative idea that is based on converting sound into light and then letting you hear. So it's a very different idea that's been in development for a long time. Okay, so one of the most important things that Dr. Garcia said to me, he outlined this pathway I have. I went from City College in Harlem, in Manhattan, to Boston, to Stanford, and back. And you might think, oh, I had planned all this. No, that's not how it happens, right? This is not the path to success. The path to success is more like this. You make mistakes all the time, when you give your talk. Why am I having so much trouble? No, it's okay. I think this should work. Okay. So the path to success is more like. I use the laser yeah. Okay, so so basically, the path to success is more like. I'm having a lot of trouble with this slide. Sorry. Sharing something about sharing. Yeah. Right. It's my slides, really. Okay, here we go. So, as I said, I came from City College and then ended up back in Boston, and the path to success is really very, very twisted. It's not how it happens, right? And so I did a lot of things in between. There were a lot of we started a lot of different companies. Many of them failed. It was not very successful. We spent millions of dollars starting new companies, and none of them worked, actually. And as I'll talk about, when I started doing research at Mass Air, I couldn't get a grant. I took three tries to get a research grant. And so it takes a lot of work to keep at it. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, what you're interested in. And I think in the end, that's what, none of the details of what I'm going to talk about is that important. The thing you should take away at the end of this is that the success path is not a linear path. It's very filled with failure, filled with ups and downs and uncertainties. When I was in Boston and City College, it was a dream job for me to do the job I have now. I would have never thought I would be where I am. So, so it is really a very challenging thing to think of what to do, And I still am trying to figure out what to do in my future. What we were talking about, what are you going to do when you grow up? I still am trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up in the next 10 years, right? So let's talk about this hearing aid that I was talking about. So hearing aid, what is the purpose of a hearing aid? Why do you get a hearing aid, right? You have a hearing loss, you can't hear, it takes many years for you to realize sometimes that you cannot hear. And so the fundamental function of a hearing aid is to improve audibility, that is, to hear the sounds to begin with. And when you have a hearing impaired person, they have difficulties hearing loud. You know, nothing is loud. Everything is too soft. So you have to restore loudness. You know, so if I start talking to you very softly, this is like how a hearing impaired person might hear. So you say, okay, he's talking normally, but I can't hear. So I need a hearing aid because I can't hear very well. So it's to restore the loudness of the normal loudness, right? Just like if you have a loss of vision, you can't see, you need to wear glasses to restore vision, right? So let's talk about hearing, right? I know many of you are new to hearing. So when we are born, and if we're lucky, if we don't have any problems, you have perfect hearing, let's say, you can hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So what are those tones? 20 hertz is a very low frequency sound, right? Very low tone, like a bass or a tuba might sound like a low. And you know, acoustic guitars are up in 1 kilohertz. Then when you jingle your keys, right? I don't have my keys because I only have a hotel card key right now. When you jingle, it's very high frequencies, right? Like, and if you have cymbals, like in a band, you know, it's very high frequency sounds, right? A piano, by the way, the range of a piano goes from 400 hertz to 4 kilohertz. It's really in the middle. The full range of a piano is very small, right? Okay. So it's a very low range. So basically, and hearing aids, however, are very limited in bandwidth. Okay. So it's from maybe 500 hertz to 4 kilohertz. This is an acoustic hearing aid that's in the canal. There are other hearing aids that provide more low frequencies, but they're very limited in bandwidth. So we were talking about working on problems when there's a need, right? At the engineering school, we were talking about what you want to work on problems where there's a need. And there's a need to improve hearing devices because they're very limited in bandwidth, right? They're very successful, but they're limited. So acoustic hearing aids have limitations on high frequencies and low frequencies, and they're limited in the amount of sound they can produce, and because there's feedback always. Have you ever heard somebody with a hearing aid, you hear this, you put their hand near there, they starts to go, it squeals, right? So you get feedback that's from squealing. So they're limited in many ways. And because of those reasons, many people who have hearing aids, they complain about their hearing aids. Hearing aids are a $15 billion business per year. $15 billion, right? I don't know how many that is in Colombian pesos, but it's a lot. So that's like 15 trillion times 4, so that's 60 trillion pesos, right? That's what the hearing aid market is. 1/3 is in the US, 1/3 in Europe, and 1/3 the rest of the world, okay? And all hearing aid people always complain about is speech intelligibility, noise, and sound quality. They say my hearing aid sounds terrible, and they can't hear in a noisy environment. This is a nice, quiet environment, so even if you had a hearing impairment, you may not have trouble. But they have this survey is done every 2 years, and every year people complain who have hearing aids about speech intelligibility, noise, and sound quality. They sound terrible, right? But despite that, they are very successful. So then you go, okay, from the ground up, how would you make a better hearing aid, right? How would you improve those two factors of hearing in your design? If you wanted to make a new hearing aid, a new design, right? So one thing is the sound quality, and this guy Brian Moore, who's a very famous guy, psychoacoustics guy, he's published one of the most famous people in hearing. He published 500 papers, 17 books. He's very prolific. Does a lot of research, but this is one of my favorite plots for him. He asks people to perceive how natural is speech and music, right? And then he asked them to start from 300 hertz to 3.5 kilohertz, so very limited bandwidth like the hearing aid. And then if you increase the low frequencies, like that's the bass, boom, 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 you know those guys with the cars, they have very low frequency Low frequency sounds, it doesn't help the sound quality. So he ask them to rate it from naturalness from 0 to 10. 10 is really good quality, right? So if you give them more low frequency hearing, the sound quality is only like 1 or 2. Not very good, right? Now if you increase the high frequencies, that's the treble, you know, the sounds, you know, in music you often have this very high frequency sound. If you increase that, it doesn't change the sound quality either. Okay, what you have to do is give people both high and low frequencies. And that's how you can increase the sound quality. So hearing aids, acoustic hearing aids are here, that's why they sound terrible, they have limited bandwidth. And so we want to design a hearing aid that's about 10 kilohertz to 100 hertz, right? Because that will improve the sound quality. That's one of the top 2 complaints about hearing aids, right? Now, speech and noise is a very difficult problem to solve. That is, if you're you've been in the cafeteria, right? And you try to listen to your friend, right? So you're listening here to your person talking here, the target speaker, and then there's 2 people talking on the side, right? They're interfering with your ability to talk. So hearing aid, this is what's called reception threshold for sentences. So it's like a signal to noise ratio, meaning how much you have to increase the level of the speech before you can understand the sentences, right? So acoustic hearing aid, it's this level, minus 16 dB, and at 4 kilohertz. This is what a hearing aid does. Now, if you increase the bandwidth from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10, this signal to noise improves. You need less loud sounds to really be able to hear your friend who's in front of you, right? And then the other real situation is when there's lots of people talking. If everybody here starts talking, and I'm in the middle trying to listen to someone right here, then that creates more problems. This is called a diffuse field. And our hearing aid is 4 kilohertz. And if you increase the bandwidth to 10, you'll hear better. And how much better do you hear? This is like a 3 dB improvement in signal to noise. 3 dB is a big deal. That means this ability to understand speech will be better by like 30-40%. 30-40% is a big deal, right? Have you ever gone in a noisy place and you can't understand? Does anybody ever do this? It makes a big difference. That's 1.4 dB only. 1.4 dB. But even though it's embarrassing, you do it because it helps you, right? This is a huge improvement in signal noise. So that says that if you can make a hearing aid that wide bandwidth, it'll sound better, and you can improve the signal to noise. So you can change the needle on those 2 metrics if you make a better hearing aid according to these specs. So we started at Earlens, started to design a new type of hearing aid that went from 100 hertz to 10 kilohertz. Okay? So before we spend hundreds of millions of dollars, we want to investigate in subjects the effect of this when we build it. Because if you build it and it still doesn't work, what's the point? You spent $300 million, you wasted everybody's money, right? So that's what we did. So, So I'm going to show you the device we built, right? So this is the hearing aid. It's a little video that describes the system. There's typically, in the hearing aid, you have a behind-the-ear processor. There's a sound source in the ear canal, and that's how you hear. But this is a different device. There's a little bit of audio, but it's okay.
The Earlens light-driven hearing aid has 3 major parts: the photon processor, the light tip, and the lens. The small custom-fit lens is placed in your ear by an ear nose probe position. The lens stays in place on your ear the same way a contact lens stays in place on your eye, with surface tension. Sound enters the microphones on the rechargeable behind-the-ear processor. The processor communicates the sound to the light tip, which converts the sound into non-visible light. The light signals the lens to gently activate your natural hearing system.
Okay, so that's the device. I'm going to turn the sound off. So basically, here's a transducer sitting there. This is a wireless connection system, and it converts sound into light. And Then this doesn't have any battery there, by the way. It's all passive. So all the energy and the signal is transmitted by the light. Okay? Okay, so here's another overview of this. So it's the light-driven hearing aid. So it's got designed to have a broad frequency range, and it directly vibrates the eardrum, requires very little power in the sound processor outside, and for broad frequency range output, right? And one of the reasons I actually started working on this idea a long time ago, because I worked on the middle ear mechanics, the basic science of middle ear mechanics. Not a very sexy idea to work on the middle ear. People want to work on cochlear implants, stem cells, design engineering of all kinds of things. To work on the middle ear was not very fashionable. But I was very interested in trying to understand autoacoustic emissions and things like that. Some funding from the NIH. It took me 3 trials to get that grant. It's like a mini art. I submitted it 3 times, 2.5 years to get this grant, okay? But the outcome of that research was partly this project, okay? Which I'll talk about, I think tomorrow, I'll talk a little more about that. But the point is that, based on the idea, we started a feasibility study, which was the first version. This first version was done on 26 ears. The processor was so big, it was like a cell phone it's like this thing hanging here. So big that people couldn't take it home. They had to do the testing in the lab. Then we made it so then people can fully wear it outside the laboratory. We did 56 ears, 48 patients, 3 clinical sites. One of them, by the way, University of Iowa, because Bruce Gantz loved this idea. Bruce Gantz, yeah. So he's on the medical advisory board of our company. And this photon generation. So this was on 50 patients, multiple sites. And then actually I also got some funding from the NIH for SPIR. I got $3 million funding from NIH on this stuff over a couple of years. So this is an awesome. So if you ever get a hearing tested, and you as soon as you can, baseline, and make sure you don't loss, and keep track of your hearing over the years. Okay, this is what it looks like, kind of. This is frequency hertz, 10 kilohertz, right? We talked about the range, design our system. So 0 is normal hearing. So if your audiogram says 0, you have normal hearing, no problem. You don't have to see anyone. Even up to 20 dB, it's okay. Down is hearing loss. So more down you are, the louder the sound you need to hear it. To have an inclusion criteria. This is all our subjects in this range, so in our range of fitting, okay? No conductive hearing loss, since only cochlear hearing loss, and so on. So this is our subjects, and this is what the device can produce. The transducer we had produce. This is threshold of hearing. This is like I said, when you're born, this is how much threshold level you need to hear. And if you have a hearing loss, you need much more sound frequencies than low frequency. So you need 80 dB of sound level in order to hear. So it's like 60 dB level. But our transducer can generate. So that's good. That means you can restore the audibility and loudness to these people. Right? Any questions? Okay. Basically, this has the making of a system that can work well, because it can go from 125 to 10 kilohertz. It can up to 120 decibels of sound, especially 110 at high frequency. That's great. So you have characteristics of a potential fit. So how well does it patients, right, in subjects? So here's the hearing level. So hearing would be 0, right? Even up to 20 dB, not much loss, right? But these are the 78 years, about 40 patients. This was their hearing, like without hearing it. And so they had 60 dB hearing loss, up to 10. So that's a lot of hearing. You would have a lot of trouble if you this person has a lot of trouble hearing in the environments, even though you have some loss of load. This is the aided. We put our device in there. This is aided hearing aid, and the difference was called the functional gain. The kind of gain you can produce feedback in these people in 40 subjects. I'm going to take the difference and plot the difference gain. So this is what people were doing with the hearing aid, right? Hearing aid does okay to 3 or 4 kilohertz, but then a high frequency again. Our contact aid, you could 30, 40 dB of gain up to 10 kilohertz. No hearing aid that can do that. That's just in audiology. Do you know? Like the hearing aids can't do that. Now in audiology, that's what we call done, right? There's no way that this can do that. So that means it's still fitting when you put the device on, you get through the whole process. You can actually provide a lot to these subjects. At least, based on this, we went and went to the FDA to get approval for this device. And we did a whole studies like I showed you, and gave us approval to start this device, basically this technology, right? To start commercializing it. That's kind of like the thing that we found. So how do we do it, right? Well, I'm just telling you a device that we developed, but what came about is the interesting story by itself. Right? So how did this device come to become? So the idea of vibrating eardrum has been around for a long time. There's people that used to put a magnet on the eardrum, glue it to the and put a coil outside. But that's not a hearing. Like if you put a magnet here and put a coil, like you guys are trying to do, particles moving around, put a coil. That's not a device because this magnet will come over time. People came up with this. Dr. Perkins, otologist, he came up with the idea of putting this eardrum on like glands, right? So you could feel the eardrum. It's not there, and so they tried to put, and they wanted to put the coil around the neck, so then you could put it under your shirt. But he has to know that you have a kid. It's completely concealed from everybody. The problem was that it didn't have enough gain to put amplification. It wasn't good enough. Right? So the FDA rejected that, right? Then the time when I moved from as Dr. Garcia said, Boston to the Bay Area to work on an ear lens idea. That is, the ear lens implantable, but we couldn't find funding in those days to really something that's a medical. There's without it, right? The internet was being born in Silicon Valley. It was impossible to get money to fund a device that was a medical device. It's not going to happen. Everybody wanted their money in 2 years, right? So with hiatus, we worked on other things, and I started to build a lab at the mechanical engineering department that I had. So I was analyzing the middle ear. This is the basic science, how the basic science got into this technology. So characterizing the middle ear, was using human controls. I visited the anatomy, right, like that. But it was a kind of lab where we're laser vibrometer, pressure sensors, microphones, pressure sensors. The point was to characterize the sound transmission, the forward direction and the direction clear for autoacoustic emission. And so what I found is that the is not a very good transmission of if you drive the meter, it will reduce a lot, basically. Yeah. And that's what I found from my research in middle ear. So, and based on this, I said to Dr. Perkins, we were working on the hearing aid company, but work with Bluetooth hearing aid ideas. This was another company, a second company, not implantable hearing aid. The second company we started, the ID, guess what? This spent millions of dollars on the company, didn't work. It's a failed. So I'm telling you, you're saying, why are you talking about all these failures? I want to hear about success. I want to talk about the success. That's the still guaranteed that it's successful, right? Because in Colombia, he arrives in Colombia, I'll feel it's successful. This company lead to a basically, right? And so I started lighting, and then this, as we were talking about, there's a place called Bucks in Woodside. This is in Silicon Valley. A lot of people, engineers, doctors, they get together. People who have one thing I'm going to talk about Dr. Perkins. People, you need to know people with money, okay? The sugar daddy, right? Help fund your problem. Okay. You make friends with Dr. So anyway, Dr. Perkins, he's many companies in Silicon Valley, right? It was, as I said, it was his idea in the beginning, magnetic device. But then in these experiments, I go back to but make it non-surgical, right? Because surgery costs money. These guys get their cut. Patient doesn't want to, right? So we got back to, right? Has the advantage of feedback, direct wideband to sound localization, better noise, all those talked about. Sunil, great idea. I'll pay. So he does it right there. So, in fact, this table we sat right there. And this guy, he's the owner, and this is where you can get the Dr. Perkins record right there. Okay, so there's Dr. Perkins. On Wednesday, the three formed the company part-time to work in this magnetic system by angel investment, SBIR fund, NIH. Then we went from this a few people to people. Like this is former students, Jonathan. He did PhD with me at Stanford. And this is Brian Moore. And this guy, he invented it. That's fun. So started this IDs. We found problem with this device. It was great. But started this initial study and didn't have enough output. And so what do you do? We spent $10 million on this company so far. It's like what, 4 million pesos? Let's do it. 40 billion. Yeah. So to do after you give up to spending so much money. Well, what happened was that really liked this, right? People idea bandwidth, it sounds good. The subjects told really like this, right? We said, okay, let's find a more efficient way of doing it. We find a more efficient way of doing it. We looked at other physics, then light turned out really good. Started to switch from electromagnetic, right? This is one of the you start working on. Sometimes work in the road, you have to make it go in the direction. And so we developed this wireless system, then ultimately study with a new system, light-based system, and then spent $25 lot how the system, and Bruce Gay, our friend, it's a great system, like it, but to go in there and the high fiddle factor fit it in. So then what do you do? But subject loved it, right? So we really kept us going, making sense to it. So I was chief at this company, that was my role thing. So I was writing up all these things related to light-based hearings. Learned about patent. So I don't know a lot about it. I took a patent law course at Stanford, so I can patents at Lens. One of these is a this is one of the most proud of, a co of like 80, right? Are patents, and in fact, it's almost 200 patents, in the company. And in fact, I was so many patents started being a patent attorney. And I was spending $1,000 on patent. I was a half employee working as that. $1,000 time employee. Ultimately, I had a patent attorney in the house to not spend so much money. Anyway, it was a small team. John and I were like running, basically. The difficulty raising money. Again, problems raising money. It's always it, right? Always. In research, what's the number one job of a CEO? What's the two job of a CEO? Raise money. Three job of a CEO. Raise more money. Same thing in research, right? PI, my number one is to raise money. Money in my lab, right? So that's very. And by the way, I am not a rich person. I came to City College and paid $50 a semester tuition, right? Anyway, constantly improvement, funding from the started finally to grow the company. CEO, he wasn't very raising money, so we fired, and then we had to lay people, had to size for working a week. The thing through. Ultimately, we hired a new CEO, Bill Factop. Amazing. I learned so much management, and this is the inflection point. In his first days, we raised $10 million. In 50 days, he raised $1 million. Right? This is when we started, and he had success in I think the ENT. So, because of our studies, our portfolio, he was really to raise $50 million. The first, that was a very hiring a good was really important. And then he bought lower experience, but they hired managers and engineers, and also hired a lot from the field of hearing science. And Edwards, this guy. So we hired people, learned about management and team, right? And then the other thing that I'm lucky with 3D. So all this fun stuff was custom made. That the transducer is very custom. You have to hold. It's not meant wise to make those like that. We got very lucky because 3D printing coming a big right around time. So the manufacturer custom with 3D printing. Something is wrong. Oh, we're almost done. Check this. Oh, so. Okay.
What should we do?
I can take. Not using it. No, I should stop.
También. Eduardo.
Okay. Ah. So ask. Transducer here, right? Sitting on this customized. If you put optimize how to shape. So try to find any good that is not good. You have to put the material that goes from things like a mold. That's one of the. That wasn't just one. That's what people have already TM. That's it. Good. And I was going to be bad. Yeah. So that I'll be happy because maybe any other. But put it into break. Okay, what? Devices. Kids have tubes. How many people had tubes in the eardrum? You had two, right? If you leave it there after 4 or 6 months, it will come out into the ear canal. So a physician, like not, you guys would have, Melissa would have to go and take it out, right? Once it's healed. So to prevent, because what it is you have magic marker. This is a real class. Come on. Wait, I have a magic marker. Where's my bag? Oh, right. Is it this one? Oh. So here's the eardrum, right? Right. Here's your ear canal. Oh, I'm done. Ear canal, right? Right. So sound comes in this way, and the middle ear bones are here. Yeah. So your skin, this keratin, this skin here, right? That continuously grows this way from the umbilical, right? Right. So what you have to do is when you put the device on there, this ear lens device that is only going to here and here, and then the transducer is sitting here, right? That's vibrating it. So what you have to do is put a layer of mineral oil that you have to spray every week, weekly. So you just squirt a little mineral oil, and then that allows this skin to still grow and come out.
To not actually move it, but just
You're lubricating it so it goes past it. Right.
Right. And so how does it compensate for huge TM fluctuations on a flight, for example?
Oh, yeah.
If you pop your ear and perform a Valsalva or a modified Valsalva, how do you compensate? Is it flexible enough?
So what this is actually on a spring. So this guy, I don't know if I can see the spring here.
I see a spring there, actually.
I'm too close.
Is it that?
So basically, this connection is such that there's a spring here, and so when the transducer is displaced, it is allowed to move.
Oh, so there's a little bit of tension on it.
Yeah, to keep it down. But the spring allows it to produce a bias force. But also, when you move your eardrum, when you yawn, it will fluctuate. In fact, Dr. Perkins would put this on my eardrum, and it would have an endoscope in there. He knew I got it on because I can actually move my eardrum voluntarily. So he would see the thing move up and down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We can go ahead.
All right. Any other questions? Yeah.
For another meeting, I heard that the like move
You have to use a magic code because
like
I have
different
people on the web.
Okay.
Like when the sound impacts the brain, it moves like in different ways. Like the material that gets into the membrane like emulates the mechanics of
Oh, yeah.
how that happens.
Well, in this device, right? When you look at it from above, it's vibrating so you're saying these parts of the eardrum move differently, right? In natural sound. What we're trying to do is this transducer that's sitting here, and that's vibrating the umbo, it's actually not using the natural sound. It's vibrating the eardrum directly, right? So it's not making use of the sounds, the vibrations, and so it's never interfered with the sound transmission, as far as we know. But it's a good question. You know more about this, about the eardrum mechanics. That's great. My student, by the way, who worked on the eardrum mechanics, Jonathan Fay, I'll talk about his work tomorrow. He was part of our company. So we had someone who's really knowledgeable about that stuff. Any other questions?
Go ahead. They can't hear it? People can have it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Gotta figure out what slide I was on. Oh yeah, we're pretty far along. Talked about that. Oh yeah, manufacturing, we're there. Okay, so like I said, this was a very customized, device, right? So you have to worry about manufacturing, and those kinds of things, right? So, it's okay. I'll use this. It's better. Oh, we don't need it. Yeah, I'll just use my mouse because then they can see it remotely. Okay, so then, like I said, when we switched from magnetic to optical, we got very lucky because what was happening in the world was the communication system was going from copper to fiber. So lots of new technologies for optics were being developed. And so we got lucky in asking the question, should we switch to light? If we had asked that question 5 years earlier, there's no way you could have done it with light. But it was all the efficiencies in telecommunications that allowed us to switch to light. So we switched at the right time. Same thing happened here. We switched to 3D printing. Right around then, I saw some 3D printing things in the labs upstairs. So we switched to 3D printing because those were just becoming available on a large scale. So it was economical, right? So this allowed us to reduce the customization cost and the accuracy of the transducer that's sitting there, right? So then at the same time, you have to do clinical studies, show your device is better. So we have to build a clinical team to collect data on our device across multiple sites, right? So, and then everybody always wanted to say, okay, well, how does it work against a hearing aid? Because ultimately that's the competition. You have to be aware of your competition, right? So say, well, how does it work against a hearing aid? That's what they want to know. Well, you can't do it. We were just starting. We just started to make the device. And so the way I think about it is that if you do a comparison too early, it's not good because that's like saying, oh, I just built a Kitty Hawk flyer. Let's compare it to a jumbo jet. Of course, you're not going to do so well because the hearing aids people have spent billions of dollars already to improve it. So you have to do it at the right time when your device is there, ready for it. So, we have to be mature in order to before we could do those kinds of comparisons. And, ultimately we did, and we could show that, like I showed you earlier, that you can provide gain and amplification at high frequencies, right? So commercialization was very important. Of course, building a sales team, building a marketing team, raising money. So Bill Factow, superstar that he was, raised $60 million. The device was placed on something, by the time I left, like in 2016, on 400 subjects, 40 different sites. This is what the company looked like, the org chart. So remember I showed you that it was 3 of us that started, me, Dr. Perkins, and a technician, and the company grew to this large size, and there I am over here, chief scientist, right? And there's manufacturing, there's, what are some of the columns there? There's VP of operations, VP of R&D, VP of custom products, quality and psychoacoustics, lots of things like that. You need this different divisions. And now actually we have 200 people at the company, right? So like I started at the earlier, one of the reasons I like to talk about my failures is because that's really how it is. You don't start working on a device and say, okay, we're going to create the ear lens. You start with an idea from research, maybe from somebody else. It doesn't have to be your idea. It could be somebody else's idea, right? Often it's not your idea. It's somebody else's idea, right? Ideas are hard to come by, but you have to be there at the right time. Sometimes there's a lot of luck, right? A lot of luck is very important. And you have lots of failures, lots of problems, lots of issues. Just like when you do research, we go in the lab, it's a lot of work doing bench work, right? It's a lot of, but if you have this mindset that I've been given this task and I'm going to do it better than anyone else did, right? I teach a class at Harvard on called Sound to Neuron, and to our speech and hearing students. And one of the things I do is we take them to Bose. And there's a little beautiful thing about Amar Bose, who's the founder of the company. He says, whatever you do it better than the person that came before you, right? And that's the kind of like the mindset you have to have when you do research. So I'm going to make 2 advertisements. One is there's a hearing aid conference in Lake Tahoe. It's beautiful in California. So I encourage you to attend the conference if you're interested in this area. I'm actually the chair of this meeting, so I'm a little selfish in promoting it, but that's okay. If you go to ihcon.org, you can see the program in the past and so on. It's a great place. Lake Tahoe is I took this picture from a boat ride we went on. And then the other thing I want to tell you about is this Harvard program in speech and hearing, SHBT, and Eduardo's lab is like 2 blocks from there.
On the back of it.
Oh, you're behind this building.
I am behind.
Oh, I thought you were on the side. Okay. Behind, okay.
On the side, not the images.
No, I thought Children's and those guys were over there. But anyways,
It's on the side.
okay. So anyway, this is the Harvard main quad at the medical school. And then we have this great program in speech and hearing. And as I just said, I teach the introductory core course there. And I just did my last lecture. In fact, it was part of the stuff I talked about was in my last lecture. But we have a great program. I'm director of admissions there. And, we have a really diverse group, very innovative, interdisciplinary program. If you're interested in applying, unfortunately, the applications are due in December 1st, which is a little too soon, but
You can apply today.
yeah, but maybe next year. Or if you know other people. So the other thing is that if you, Melissa, or you guys run into anybody that is interested, if you apply and you get in, your tuition is guaranteed. And it's NIH funded. And so we have 5 or 6 students every year that enter, and typically 1 international student as well. So if you're admitted, it's free, but it's very competitive, obviously, to get in. And then that's it. Thank you. I'll take questions. Oh, thank you.
So we can do, okay. This is fascinating. Thank you so much, Leo. Very interesting field. So we wanted to do a small panel here. Do we have Ricardo? Ricardo, a small panel here with Eduardo, Melissa, Ricardo, and you. We need 3 chairs. You know, you do that?
We can stand.
Yeah. So go.
We can stand, but I'm Jack.
Okay. escucho bien de pie, gracias. So it is very interesting to see that you have all these struggles and difficult pathways on the road to getting how many patents? 60?
It's almost 200.
So, but that encourages us to move forward because it's not a straight line. If you're passionate about something, you can do it. So we have Dr. Eduardo Corrales here. Eduardo, he finished medical school in Honduras. Eduardo went to Stanford, did a fellowship with great and famous authorities there. And Eduardo, you were telling me yesterday about creating a culture, a passionate culture to do research and get 200 patents. So you have 0 patents. Which can't
Not everyone has to have a patent either.
So please tell us about your experience in Harvard and Stanford and how we can cooperate between surgeons in the OR and move the medical students, the engineers, everybody to make a team approach. Without a team, we cannot move forward.
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It is a pleasure to be here. We had an amazing tour today of the facilities of the university. And we have been blown away by the quality of the infrastructure that you have here. When I speak with Dr. Garcia about what we see at Harvard University versus Stanford University and what we see here, it literally is about a culture. Having people like Dr. Garcia, like Dr. Castillo, David, who provide the new generations the facilities to do it. You, as a young generation, cannot do the research if you don't have the infrastructure and the mentorship, okay? As we witnessed today, there is absolutely no excuse for not being able to change this culture. You have the mentorship, the quality of the human resource, and the quality of the infrastructure should have the most amazing output. It is at your disposal to use and take advantage, okay? And it shouldn't be a barrier in any way to use this machine, to use this. It is for you to use. And it's this higher education mentality of the person above you looking and saying to you, what can I do to launch your career? Where do you need to be for your next step? And the way I teach students at the university, residents in the program, and fellows who are about to get their job, their dream job, is my beacon of light, my horizon is that you need to be better than me. Okay, what does that mean? Do I have to study? Do I have to count more cells? Do I have to do more cryo-sectioning? Yes, you have to put the work in, but it's what your mentor is telling you. What can I do to make you reach that level? You have to put in the hard work. Nothing comes easy, otherwise it's already done. You can see the clear example of how much it takes, right? But at this moment, this culture shift is happening here. You can palpate it in the university. It's for you guys to take advantage.
So any comments from Melissa or Ricardo, please?
So first of all, it is a pleasure to be here. I'm from Medellin, so I'm currently having an appointment at the Universidad Tecnología Bolivariana. And to me, research is not a problem. And I truly believe that starting with simple questions, with simple things, you can start a research. Because as Dr. Corrales said yesterday, no question is stupid. So I believe that everything with its simple start really matters. And with a simple question, it really happens magic. When I was in Boston, I had the chance to be with wonderful mentors such as Sunil and Dr. Erwin Schneider. And I already see that little questions make great research. Here in Colombia, we have, I think, one issue, and we always think that we have to go onto basic science, or we don't know how to do clinical science. And as a physician and as an attending now in Medicina, I do really discover in my students that we can do research with simple questions. And from that questions, we can just move forward to other type of places. For example, basic science as well. So don't be shy to start when you are young. You are pretty young. You are in the best university of Colombia. So you have all the opportunities to do research. Other parts of Colombia, as you may know, don't have that chance. So please take an advantage of that.
So here we have Dr. Ricardo Peña. You know, Ricardo is a PhD study in Iowa too that Bruce Gans mentioned. Bruce was here maybe 12 years ago. You Google it, you will find him in a university interview. So you have to be passionate about and create a team approach. That's what we have done with Ricardo and with the team of the faculty heads. But we must move together with the PhD, with the bioengineer lab to reach 220 patents in Colombia. Only faculty heads.
I could say that these kind of talks are really inspiring, so thank you very much for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. Sadly, sometimes in Colombia it's very difficult to achieve this level, but it's not impossible. And especially because we are, I would like to say a couple, but maybe it could be like tens of decades behind some of the important elements of the scientific culture that is present sometimes in developed countries. However, with the technology that is surrounding us nowadays, I consider that it's easier to close the gap. It's not really simple, but it's possible. But only if we take the steps to try to manage those technologies. For example, artificial intelligence. So all of you have heard about artificial intelligence in the last 2 years, especially because generative artificial intelligence, because actually AI has been with us for many decades. But the question is, how much effort are we putting into trying to dominate or to master some of these technologies and to apply them into your daily jobs, studying or working in the clinic, because that is very important. Because if we do put the effort into mastering some of these technologies, it will be easier to close the gap. But if we don't try to do it, then the gap is going to be wider and wider and wider, because people are running. I just came back from a cardiology conference, and lots of people are using artificial intelligence in different ways to try to handle clinical data. And in our hospitals, we still try to discuss those ideas, and a lot of administrators think that it's like science fiction. So if we think like that, it's going to be very hard to get to that level. And I will try to summarize 3 important points that I found in your presentation. The first is about curiosity. Curiosity is a natural trait in humans. So try to be curious about what is surrounding you in the world. Because a lot of times, we just get so used to social media, the internet, to finding quick answers to the problems that we have, that we lost the curiosity of, for example, sitting outside of this room and just thinking, why are the clouds moving in the way that they are moving? When people are talking about global warming, but I don't know, some places in the US are getting colder. And then if you try to come up with solutions for those questions, then your curiosity is starting to get boosted. And I think that is very important. The second is about mentoring, finding the right mentors. And again, if you are at Harvard, there are hundreds of people that can provide mentoring to you. In universities like the ones that we have in Colombia, there are fewer people, but still there are people that are available and are willing to support you and to mentor you, try to take advantage of the opportunities that you have. Initially, I did my PhD in cardiovascular sciences, in cardiovascular pharmacology, but my first research job was in infectious diseases. I wasn't really interested in infectious diseases, but that was the door that was open for me at that particular stage of time. And I learned a lot of things that I was able to put into pharmacology. So finding a good mentor is critical. Seek for a good mentor, talk to mentors, and be humble. And that was another element of the presentation. You will not have all the answers. But you can try to walk the path to be with people that knows more than you. Like the example that you were mentioning about the student that knows a lot about electron mechanics. There will always be people that knows more than you, but if you talk to people, if you work in a team, it is going to be easier for you to grow.
Please comment.
It's funny,
Thank you, Dr. Ricardo. Thank you.
and finding a mentor, I like to say it's like dating, right? It's like, you have to like them and they have to like you, right? And you have to have a chemistry and a relationship, and that's how you do better. And so it's the same thing. The first person you date is not the right person all the time, right? So you know, you have to look around, see who's a good match for you.
Yes.
Hola, hola. Hola, sí, hola.
We started the project of the postgraduate training in otolaryngology in our university. That was 2 years ago. And I talked to the dean, talked to the Fundación Santa Fe, we presented the project, it took us 2 years. It wasn't a straight line, but it's been fun. And I told the dean and the team in our hospital, without basic sciences and a path with medical students, with masters, students that go to the US or Europe, come back here, our department won't grow at all. So it's one of our goals. So how can you help us to make this team with very important universities as Harvard and MIT? What should we do as a team together for our students, for our master's degree students, to do a team? What should we do?
Yeah. So, and I assume it's okay in English, right? Is that what we're doing now?
We're fine in English.
Okay, good. So I can go on a very philosophical answer for this, but I think what's more interested is going into more practical, concrete examples. What we are doing today is part of that. What Dr. Castillo did in the United States is part of that, okay? In my lab, in the last 5 years, I've had 5 postdocs in the lab from 5 different countries, okay? And it's inviting the group of people who are interested, who have that curiosity, to not be satisfied. What does the logo say? No parar de rodar. That sound, never be satisfied. Don't get into the rut. Don't get accustomed. Always be thinking, where can I go? Where do I need to be for the next step? So on a concrete example is make sure, as young generation, I want to get through med school, and then I want to get through the fellowship, and I want to go and put a private practice open. Come on and see me. That's what everyone thinks. Take the time to do research. In total, I took 3.5 years out of my medical career to do research. 2 years at Harvard, 1 year at Stanford after completing my residency and before my fellowship. I can tell you, 1, they're the happiest periods of my life, right? 2, you learn a lot. And where I am now at Harvard is literally because of these 3 years of research. There are a lot of candidates that we have and a lot of residents that we have in our program. All they're interested in is finishing up and putting up their shingles for their private practice. That's okay. But they're not going to move the needle. They're not going to move the field forward. It is this right here that is moving. Getting to train the new generation. Getting them excited about cells, about the zebrafish that we saw today, right?
Beautiful.
Very cool.
I love zebrafish.
And by the way, I'm telling you this. Oh, yeah, zebra. Oh, nice. Oh, smell. It doesn't have to be purely basic science. You could be on a translational path. You could be on a clinical science path. But do take the time. Concrete examples is what we're doing right now. You guys are more than welcome to visit us in Boston, right? Our doors are open. I'm telling you, I just had a lady from the Netherlands spend a year. A guy from Mansoura, Egypt, spend a year with us. I had a guy from Israel who is in Iowa right now as a resident in ENT. right? I had Alejandro from Colombia work out a little bit on that, and a guy from China. And I'm going to talk about all the research that these guys have put into. It's a lot of work. I'm not saying this is going to be a Frisbee thing in the park. It's going to be a lot of work. But it's not about the end, the destiny. It's about this trajectory. And this is what we need to get you guys excited about, right? There's no preformed path, that straight line that Dr. Puria said. You got to find your path, but you got to do it with curiosity and the work to get you there, okay?
Julio, please, any
No,
comments?
I agree with that. In many ways, if you think about it, I'm still on that trajectory. I'm still sure what to do next.
Straight or a little curvy?
So, for example,
Me?
for example,
They invited me to a meeting in Turkey, to emerging countries meeting, and I tell to them, we're not emerging, we're submerging countries.
No, so I mean, like, I still like one of the reasons I like to go to these meetings is thank you for inviting me, Melissa. Is that I learn a lot about, and I get ideas, I get thoughts. As I'm presenting, I think of things I had thought of. People ask questions. I had thought of. I could have stayed home. Today's Thanksgiving. I could have stayed home, but no, I'm here because I like. I learn stuff from people. I learn new things that I never thought about. So it's a lifelong process.
So much. Any questions for them? We have Dr. David here from the bioengineering department. David, please be a part of this meeting. It's so important for us to have you here, and in the project that we have, the training, we want to do very, very important for us.
Well, thank you very much. It is a pleasure and it is an honor for me to be here. When we met at Innovación Santa Fe a few weeks ago, and you asked us to bring through the labs, it was a good opportunity for us to share the capabilities that we have, which are important, but also I want to emphasize on the intentions that we should have on cooperating. And this has been my message and continues to be my message. And as I have said to Ricardo and to Luis Jorge and to Natalia and to the people that are involved with the education in medicine, we as biomedical engineers are very interested in working together with medical doctors, with medical students. And we were talking about the best example to inspire others to see the value of this is to collaborate on a project and solve a relevant need together. So that is what I would like to say once again to all of us here. We are very happy to work with you, with the doctors, with Santa Fe. We have nice labs and machines and things, but we have nice people and nice engineers that are very interested in working with you. So here the invitation is, we work with us, look for us, we will make ourselves available. You guys have 254 credits to take, we have only 134. So we will be flexible.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you for your cooperation and the team approach that we've been building with the university. Thank you so much. Ricardo, any other comments?
Hola.
Yeah. Any other comment? Ricardo, thank you for being here.
Just a seed of advice for the students. I remember when I was in the medical school and sometimes people were invited to conferences in cities like Cartagena, the first thing that most people thought was about the swimsuit. So I'm going to Cartagena, I've spending a lot of time in Bogota, so I have to go to the beach, it's beautiful in Cartagena. So that was the first thing. And if you are attending a medical conference or a conference in any field, just try to take advantage of connections. I cannot count the number of insights that I have gotten in conferences, talking to students or talking to professors, imposters. I remember my first project just worked because I stopped at the poster, I started to share freely ideas and the issues that I was having in my project with a student from another institution from Michigan State. And he said, oh, no, you are culturing these issues for too short. You should be culturing them for 4 hours. Just try that and let me know what happens. And effectively I did that, and it worked. And it has worked the same way many times. So recently, one of the people that work with me, Andres, was with me in a conference, and I was telling him, just try to take advantage of any opportunity that you have to create connections, to expand your networks. That is the most important thing that you can do in a conference or in courses like this or by LinkedIn. Just don't be hesitant to knock at the different doors. You have to knock at hundreds of doors to get one of those open. But if the door that opens is the right one, your path to success is almost secure because you'll be able to find good mentors.
Yes.
Well, I would like just to say, yeah, we have, but the real science occurs in the coffee hours. So that the discussions, and when you meet the people there, there's a bunch of connections, and it's like the best part of congresses. Because you enter to a talk and, okay, that will be even in an abstract book or in a research journal, but the best connections that you can do is in the coffee hours and social hours. Don't stop going there because it's like the best time. Network.
It's great that you're here. No more media conferences.
I just want to add also, many conferences, they have student scholarships. So if you see you see the registration fee is, $500. They have money for, like my conference, IHCon. If you apply for a scholarship, we give, it costs maybe $1,500 to attend that meeting, and we give people $1,000, $1,500 to attend the conference if you're a student. So the conferences will have scholarships. You should apply. Every conference I go to, they have student scholarships.
Any questions from the audience? Please, go ahead. But you have to use the microphone. I'll bring it to you. All right.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for the discussion. I want to make a question. I am a researcher. I work with Dr. Peña. I have a question. I want to know what is your advice for young researchers, young scientists that wants to take a new idea, an idea from zero, and transform that idea to a product or maybe something that can be useful for patients, because sometimes you have different ideas, new ideas, and those ideas never reach to be something useful for patients, but they stay just like as ideas. So what is your advice for young scientists that want to transform that from an idea to a product or for something useful for patients? Thank you.
Okay. This microphone, because people is online.
That's a somewhat of a difficult question because I have many ideas and most of them are useless. Actually, those patents I told you, like 80, 90 patents, they're useless patents in my opinion. They're not, only maybe 5 of them I actually have some real value to the company, right? There are many ideas there that will take billions of dollars to develop, right? So first thing is you have to figure out whether it's a good idea, right? As opposed to an idea. And how do you figure that out? Well, you talk to people, is there a patient? Is there a need? Is there, so it should be driven by some need. That's always a good thing. That doesn't mean you can't come up with something that nobody needs, right? Sometimes those are the best ideas. Nobody needs it right now, but by the time you make it, maybe someone, I'll give you a good example of that is when color TV is a really old idea. When color TV was invented, everybody said, why do you need color TV? Our grayscale TV is perfectly fine. And then you introduce it, everybody goes, oh my God, it's so good. They didn't know they needed it, right? So, so you have to talk to people, get input, think through. And the other thing is it fundable? Is it going to make anybody any money? It has to somehow come back to finance, also.
So thank you again. You have given us great ideas. The ear lens is hearing in color TV. Yeah, it's especially in noisy environments. So this is very important. I just want to end, and our department is very satisfied and proud to have such a dream team here, helping us to move forward in many good ideas. And I did translate the words of our rector and founder 75 years ago. He says, to link the university to national problems, why do research if you cannot apply it here in Colombia first? In all those fields in which the application of intellectual tools can suggest solutions. We have 6 million people older than 65 in Colombia. Hearing aids for them could be 2 million people needing to hear in color here in the country. So we can suggest, Dr. Lacerna can suggest solutions to the problems or serve those who have an interest in them. So translational research is so important, especially for Colombia, for all the world. And I just want to end with, let me see if I find it. Albert Einstein said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious, is the source of all true art and all science. So what's what we're doing? Having fun, looking for science, moving around, and making friends. Friendship is so important, and networking to do research, as you said. So thank you so much. Big applause to them. This is it. Thank you. So thank you, Juliana. We're ready to move forward. Thank you all. And I hope this encourages students and people in the audience, people connected on the web, to go to Harvard, to go to MIT, to go to Stanford. Anything we can do for them, for medical students, we'll be happy to do it. We have done it several times. Thank you so much. Okay, gracias a todos. Gracias.